Hey guys, two topics that have come up in the last few days. The first one is, made a video on the Japan channel showing some police dealing with some citizens and how gently they do it in Japan usually, and diplomatically and quietly and that sort of thing. And straight away came a whole heap of comments, and in all fairness, comparing the way the Japanese police do it to the way they do it in your own country is fair enough, isn't it? I mean, that's what we do, isn't it, when we see things like that? We compare situations like that to what we're used to, and that's fair enough. But the comments from all the characters saying, oh, if that was America, the cops would have shot them, and if that was America, they would have been tasered, and if that was America, they would have been thrown to the ground, all that sort of thing. We sort of talked about this before. Obviously, if there's cops doing the wrong thing, they need to be punished to the full extent of the law. So if they're killing people illegally or injuring people illegally or assaulting people or whatever, obviously they need to be punished to the full extent of the law, obviously. And that's up to society to make sure that happens. And, you know, I gather it is happening. I gather bent cops are getting put away and punished and everything else, and as they should be, and those that aren't should be, and that the society should push for that. But this constant bagging of cops, just as a blanket bagging of cops, is just juvenile. You know, it's just juvenile. It's just what juveniles do. It's what young dudes do. You know, cops are bad, man. You know, anybody who stops me doing what I want to do must be bad, man. And, you know, anybody who's dealt with police extensively will know that, no, most cops are actually pretty good. Occasionally you get a bad one who should be thrown out or punished or disciplined or whatever is required under the law, but the majority of cops are really decent people. And to crap on with all that bullshit is just ignorant. I mean, what that's doing is basically blaming your police for your violent society. You know, the reason, and those idiots there talking about guns and, oh, you know, in America they'd be shooting them and all this sort of shit. Well, one of the big differences is that Japanese police don't have to worry about Joe Public having a gun on him. So for that reason they can be more relaxed and gentle, because they're not worried about Joe Public pulling out a gun and shooting him, which happens every year as well. You know, so that's the first point, that you know, Japanese police aren't as edgy because they're not worried about Joe Public having a gun, because so few citizens in Japan have guns, you know, and nobody wants fucking guns. You get so sick of hearing this, a disarmed public, as if being armed is normal in 2015, that in a society where people don't have guns, which is quite a normal situation to have, that these gun nuts seem to think that that's not a normal situation and that the public's disarmed. They use ridiculous phrases like that, you know. So that's the first thing. Look, the reason the Japanese police aren't pulling out their guns is they don't have to worry about the citizens having guns. That's one of the big advantages of living in a society where people don't have fucking guns. The other thing is, they're talking about the way they're talking to the public, you know, and, you know, considering that if you search police on YouTube, what you're going to get is a whole heap of dickheads that have gone out with their camera and have filmed themselves baiting cops, basically. You know, and the other video I made previously on the Japan channel that showed a police stop, so the cops randomly stopped people on the street, the drivers on the road, to see if we'd been drinking. And that was an exchange that took about a minute or two, you know, and I had a bit of a chat with the guy. And that's had over 1 million views, that video, and the comments on that are the same. Oh, you know, those cops are so polite and so nice in our country, you know, they'd be pulling out guns and all this sort of shit. Well, the other thing was that I was really polite as well. So that's the difference, you know. If you've got an aggressive society, and those poor American cops, man, who'd be a cop in America? Every wanker with a camera is, I don't have to answer your questions. You know, if I behaved like a dickhead, then probably we would end up with some confrontation. But in that particular video, if you haven't seen it, just search on my YouTube channel, or have a look on the Japan channel, have a look on Crime and Emergency Services and Police Traffic Stop. And it was just a polite little conversation for a minute or two, and then I was on my way. And in return, for that 1 or 2 minutes of my time, I know that my family's safe driving that road that particular night because they're stopping all the drunk drivers. And that's gonna have a ripple effect as far as less drunk drivers on the road. That's worth a minute or two of my time. You know, no big deal, 1 or 2 minutes. As opposed to the wankers on YouTube who sit there for 15 minutes or half an hour arguing with the cops about their rights. You don't have a right to stop me. You don't have a right to, you know, fuck off. Give a minute or two of your time, you know. So the point of this is, you know, all this crap about in our country the cops are bad and, you know, I wish the cops were like they are in Japan. Well, that's because the society treats them with respect. That's because the society is more respectful. If you've got a crap society where it's every person for themselves, and I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of countries like that. America's like that. Australia's like that. There's a lot of countries like that now where people, it's all about me and my rights and fuck everyone else. And if you've got a society like that, well, that's what it's going to be like. And if your cops end up the same, don't blame them. You know, if you've got a shit violent society where every prick's carrying a gun, people are going to get shot, you know. And again, if there's bad cops, get rid of them. But don't be blaming your cops when your society goes to shit because you're being selfish and everybody's about their own rights and just about me. Nobody's thinking about the community. The reason Japan's the way it is the focus here is on the benefit of everybody, which means that when people get stopped by the cops in a random breath test thing to check for drink driving, everybody recognises that's a worthwhile thing to do. Okay, no problem. There's a 0 alcohol limit here for driving, so, you know, everybody goes, yeah, all right, I'll give a minute of my time to talk to the cop, and then I'll drive away. In return for that, we don't have drunk drivers killing as many people on the roads as we might have in other countries. You know, you can't be selfish pricks and then blame your cops when the society's crap. The society isn't crap because of the cops. The cops are just part of the society, is like same as everybody else. You know, that just baffles me, that bullshit. I'm sick of that. I deleted some comments off that channel because I was just sick of it. I'm just sick of hearing it, that juvenile cops suck, man, bullshit. You know, cops are bad, man. No, they're not. You know, I've actually talked to cops in America. I've talked to a lot of cops in Australia. And, you know, occasionally you come across a dickhead, but generally they're really good people. You know, if you're not a dickhead to them, I mean, of course, they're human beings like anyone else. If you behave like a dickhead to any person, it's more likely they're going to be a dickhead back to you. And again, I'll repeat it just again for the dickheads who don't pay attention, bad cops should be punished to the full extent of the law. So we had that bit of bullshit on the Japan channel, and then of course tonight we get you know, this week's massacre in the US. In Oregon, some dickhead's gone crazy with his gun there and shot a whole heap of people, killed a whole heap of innocent people again with his guns. And amazingly, in the comment section underneath, you got all the gun nuts saying, oh, it must be a CIA conspiracy. It's another false flag operation to take away our guns. Another conspiracy by Obama. Really? That's all more likely than just some crazy fucker who's lost it because he's just can't handle life anymore and grabbed his gun and gone and shot a whole heap of people. Which is more realistic? Which is more believable? You know, it's unbelievable the fucking the stupidity and the ignorance and the paranoia. I mean, it's a combination, isn't it? It's a combination of stupid, you know, and paranoia and too much fucking TV. You know, interestingly, I was watching a series. What's it called? It's set in Las Vegas, and it's a guy, The Player. It's called. It's a TV series, and it's all bullshit. You know, coming from a electronic security background, I'm aware of what can be done with electronic security and what can't be, and what a lot of bullshit. You know, but I mean entertaining, but just so much bullshit. You know, and as a person who knows a little bit about aeroplanes as well, you know, this latest episode I watched tonight. This computer hacker, you know, they've always got the computer hacker back in the base, you know, back in the secret control room, who hacks into all the computers and helps the action man out in the field. And this one, she hacked into a aeroplane's controls and used her computer skills to lower the ramp on the back of the C-130 aeroplane. What? And of course the magic system that hacks into any camera anywhere in the world, you know what I mean? Which anybody who's got any knowledge of how those sorts of cameras work is, you know, a lot of bullshit. The reason I'm mentioning this is you can see the blurred line in these fools' heads, the blurred line between Hollywood and reality. You know, the paranoia that they've got, where they're more willing to believe the crazy shit that we watch on TV from Hollywood. They're more prepared to believe that than to believe the reality. And to logical, reasonable people. And again, all these videos on this channel, or both my channels really, are made for reasonable, intelligent people that think logically. You know, and the gun nuts and conspiracy nuts and all the other idiots, I don't really care what they think, because they're going to think they're stupid shit anyway. So these videos are really just for more the thinking people, you know, just so that you know that you're not alone, you know. When you read all that shit too and you go, oh, fucking idiots. And that video I watched about that Oregon massacre, almost all the comments on the page were conspiracy nut shit. Gun nut shit and conspiracy nut shit. It's all a big conspiracy to take away our guns. We need the guns. If we had more guns, if the people at the community college had more guns, there not as many people would have died. The insanity of that, and it just dominated the page. The reasonable comments were really rare on the page. It was a RT, Russia Today video. But just unbelievable that the conspiracy nuts and the gun nuts and the nuts in general just dominate the internet, don't they? You know, the reasonable comments just got squashed under the volume of the crazy conspiracy nut shit. You know, and I know some conspiracy nuts. One of my cousins is a conspiracy nut. And he buys into most of these crazy conspiracies, you know, and it's just fucking irrational. It's irrational, it's paranoid, it's too much fucking Hollywood TV. You know, I love Hollywood makes some great action stuff and some good entertainment, but that's all it is. It's not real. You know, a reasonable person can look at these situations, you know, and anybody with any understanding of psychology or any understanding of human nature, you know, that in this modern world with all the pressures and things that we've got, that one guy just loses it. And I mean, who hasn't lost it? The only difference is that some people sometimes just lose it too far, you know, and then have an access to a gun and just lose it and just go, fuck you people, and just kill them all. That's not that hard to get your head around when you understand human nature and psychology, or just when you've got a reasonable, rational mind, you can understand how that could happen. Much more understandable and believable and possible and feasible and logical and rational and believable than it being a CIA fucking conspiracy designed to take away your guns, for fuck's sake. I mean, that's, as well as being insane, that is so disrespectful. You know, I always think that when I read shit like that on those videos, that people have been killed. You know, it's like the people that go on with the 9/11 shit. You know, that plane didn't really crash into the ground, it was all bullshit and fake. Really? Imagine how you'd feel if one of your family members was on that aeroplane. You know, or in this case, one of your family members was at that college studying in their classroom when Mr. Nutjob came in, Mr. Gun Nut fucking Nutjob came in and shot them. And then you got to read this shit on the internet about it being, it's all bullshit and it's a false flag and it's CIA conspiracy. You know, I'd be fucking furious if that was a member of my family got killed by that gun nut, and you got other gun nuts saying it's all a clever conspiracy to take away their guns. I'd be really pissed off. I'd be really, really pissed off. If someone actually said that to me and I'd lost someone in that situation, I'd be extremely pissed off. It's just so disrespectful and insane, you know, just ridiculous. So again, if you're a gun nut or a conspiracy nut and you want to get all emotional about this and leave a comment underneath, do that. And sometimes I know you guys do, and you leave really long-winded bloody rants of stuff that you've read on the internet somewhere, and without actually giving it any logical thought, you just copy it and repeat it because you think it sounds good, and you know it fits with your paranoias and psychosis and insecurities and all the other fears that you have about the world. Feel free to spend 30 minutes writing a big long rant, and I'll spend about 2 or 3 seconds deleting it. Because as I've said before, this channel I'm not providing a platform for gun nuts, conspiracy nuts and other dickheads. It's providing a platform for reasonable people. So if you're, free speech is wonderful. If you're a gun nut or a conspiracy nut or some other nut, you can make a video on your channel, and that'll be your equal footing to have your free speech and say whatever crazy shit you want to. But this platform here and this stage here is mine, and if I don't want gun nuts and other selfish arseholes leaving comments on this page, then I'm just going to flick them off. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's just antisocial shit. You know, wankers that can watch stuff like what happened there today and then still crap on about wanting their guns, you know. Like, look, we know you got bullied at school and you feel scared about other grown-up men hurting you. We know, we understand that, but you need to get some psychological help, because your gun's not going to stop it happening again. You know, it's not going to stop bullies. The bullies can still get you. You know, go and deal with that. Go and deal with that issue and just give up your guns, your nut jobs. So, again, to those reasonable people who watch this, yeah, I'm with you. If you watch that and shaking your head and thinking, what the fuck, you know, they've got to do something about the guns. Again, it's going to be a voting thing. When enough people vote to get rid of the guns will go. They'll be crushed, just like they were in Oz. A good thing. It'll happen. It'll happen. And hopefully it'll happen in my lifetime. I want to see it. I want to see enough Americans vote against the guns that the guns get taken away and crushed. And the gun nuts go, oh, wow, I was gonna make you take it out of my dying hand, but I decided at the last moment just to hand it over. So if you're one of those people that thinks that the guns are crazy, well, I'm right with you there. And again, reasonable people, please leave some comments. It makes the other reasonable people feel better when we see that there's other normal people out there, that it's not all insane, paranoid, conspiracy fools, you know. And for the ones that want to support our police too, the police are doing a horrible job. The same assholes who go on about the cops all the time are the first to call them when they need them and expect them to come and help them. You know, so let's support the police. Let's get rid of the bad ones. Let's support the good ones. And when you see assholes crapping on about the cops, stand up for it. Stand up for them and make a comment. Tell them. I deleted some off my Japan channel. Again, I'm not going to provide a forum for people to bag cops. Bag the bad cops, get rid of the bad cops, but just generally slandering all police as being bad, that's just bullshit. And again, crap on about free speech if you want to, but that's bullshit too. Because on YouTube, everyone's got equal free speech. You can all make videos about whatever you want on your own channel, say whatever you want. That's the free speech. Doesn't mean you can come to my channel and say whatever you want. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, disagree, leave a comment. Thick. Have a different opinion. Look on my videos, there's lots of people with different opinions. It's just that I'm not going to provide a platform for people who think it's fair for people to kill other people just so they can have their gun. Not interested in hearing that argument. And again, I read all the comments, so that's the other reason I flick shit like that off. I don't want to read crap like that. I usually read the first half sentence. You know, guns are good because, flick. I don't want to read all that crap. Anyway, reasonable people. Welcome to Planet Reasonable. More videos coming soon.